Ladies and gentlemen, this is the meeting of the El Centro City Council for Tuesday, February the 20th, 2024. Madam Roll, Madam, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cardenas Singh,
Present.
Councilmember Carter,
Present.
Councilmember Oliva,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia,
Present.
Mayor Marroquin.
Present. And we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia and the invocation by Councilmember Carter.
Place your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you simply saying thank you. We're asking you just to go throughout the Imperial Valley, Lord. Bless El Centro, bless Imperial, bless Heber, bless Hopeville, bless Brawley, bless Sealy. Anybody I did not mention, bless them as well. We're just asking for you just to reach out to the people, Lord. The people are in need like there is no desire right now. We're asking for you just to answer needs. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Madam City Attorney, a report on closed session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no reportable action from this closed session.
Alrighty. So at this time, we will go into public comments. This is our notice to the public that this is a public meeting. If there's an item on the agenda on which you wish to be heard, you are asked to complete a blue speaker slip and submit it to the city clerk prior to the start of the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council are not required to identify themselves. However, this information assists the mayor by ensuring that all persons wishing to address the council are recognized and also assists the city clerk in preparing the city council meeting minutes. When the item is announced and your name is called by the mayor, please step to the podium and state your name for the record. Unless the mayor extends the time, there is a 3-minute time limit for each public presentation. If you wish to address the council concerning any other matter not appearing on the agenda, you may do so during the public comment portion of the agenda. However, you may not show a visual presentation without review of that material. If you do so, you will be considered out of order. Madam City Clerk, do we have any requests for public
We have
comment?
none, Mayor.
None?
None.
Within the house or even,
Not even on Zoom. None.
okay, thank you. Okay, and so now we move on to presentations. So National Engineers Week is February the 18th through the 24th. Do we have a presentation for this?
Do you have the certificate? We don't have it.
No?
If you want to introduce them, though.
Yes. So National Engineers Week, and we apologize, Mr. Abraham Campos and your team, but we don't have your certificate at hand, but we'll make it up to you. Okay, so we just would like to thank you and appreciate you for everything that you and your team does for the city of El Centro, and not just the city, but for our community and our county as a whole, because your work is very important. I mean, I can't even stress how important your work is, to the city. And so we would like to show our appreciation to you for all the work and that your profession does for us.
Of course. And I appreciate it. And I just want to thank our city council for recognizing Engineers Week. It's quite an important message we want to get out, as not many, I know this does not work, right? As we're having a shortage in engineers. Even within our own staff, we have a shortage right now. We're down one engineer, and it's very, very difficult to get those folks in. And so we want to send the message out that there's work out there. There's engineers needed in our area, and they are required for valuable contributions here to get our community built and going. but continue going as well. For us, our engineering team, I can't go out without recognizing our team. Felix De Leon is leading our engineer right now, our engineering division, as our associate civil engineer. We have Hector Salcido as our engineering technician, Omar Negrete as our engineering technician, Gabriel Martinez as our GIS CAD technician, and we can't be without the support of our support staff. So Jessica Gonzalez is our permit technician, as well as our many consultants that we rely on to get work done here in the city of El Centro. It's a small team that we have. We have a lot of projects, and we're happy to be of service here. And thank you for recognition.
Colleagues, would anybody like to?
I would, if it's all right with you,
Yes,
Madam
yes,
Mayor.
of course.
I work with high school students and we talk about college and career pathways, and engineering is such an important major. And that's what we find. We find that many of our students do go off to a four-year university, and then getting them to come back to the Imperial Valley is important. So I'm glad to hear that there's opportunities, and hopefully that message gets out so that engineers can apply for those positions. But I thank you for the day-to-day work and making sure that our structures, our buildings are safe, and all the great work that takes place. And so I just want to thank you and your staff. Thank you so much for the great work.
I would also like to just say a few words, Madam Mayor, and that is to I think everyone that will watch this later on the social media channels should be shocked and a little scared to hear that we have a shortage of engineers, and to hear that there are jobs available if they just prepare for this field, because we depend on you so much. You know, when they talk about the bones of something, we're talking about the foundation, right? And so every road that is being repaved or that has been designed was designed by an engineer. The new communities, the new housing that people talk about that they want to see, it had to go through an engineer, right? And so the rains that we experienced and the sewage and the water that goes down, your team has to be involved, right? The wastewater treatment facility and the way that just the entire look of our city and all of that security that we feel that when we go down the street, the road isn't going to cave in because an engineer was behind it, right? When we walk into a building, we know that the ceiling and the walls are going to hold because an engineer paid attention to it. And so there is a lot that we depend on for you. And so really this week is about highlighting just how much we appreciate it. And I hope that those few examples that I was able to give just really shows you and your team just how much we pay attention and are grateful of what you do. And we hope that as my colleague mentioned, the students that are out there that are thinking about a field when they grow up, think of a STEM field, think of an engineering field, so that they can find a place and be here at home and raise their family and have a shining career, because we very much need and rely on our engineers. So thank you for everything that you and your team does.
I'd like to say something. Thank you for what's seen and not seen. My niece went into the service. She went in to be into the Army, and she knew then when she went into the Army that this wasn't a long term, that she had to find something that she wanted to sit on. So she became an engineer, and she loves it. So my hat goes off because I hear all the all the behind the yes. So my hat goes off to what you guys actually get to do behind the scene that people do not get to see or they don't hear about. So thank you to you and your team.
Abraham, like the comments from the dais, basically, I'd like to echo them. You know, you're such an important part of the city. You literally work on the foundation of the municipalities. That's what engineers do, and you are exceptional at it. So is your team. You're always there when we have to deal with sudden emergencies. You're always there when we have to deal with planning out new projects. And it's everything that our residents enjoy, whether it be parks, library, the new police station going up, everything involves engineering. So it's wonderful that you're being recognized with National Engineers Week. I think that there may have been some hesitancy to prepare some sort of certificate because it probably would have come with a hefty price tag. But thank you very much for everything that you do. It's a testament to your professionalism, your hard work, and of course, the many years of education that you had to go through to get to your position. And we see it every day when we drive around El Centro. So thanks again, and it's a pleasure to honor you this week.
Well, thank you for recognizing my team. Apologize, many of them could not make it, but we do have Gabriel Martinez. He's our JS technician here. So joining again. This is a team effort. It's a team recognition. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Campos. Okay. And now we move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that any of the members of the council would like to? If not, please. Are we using the voting system here, or is it going to be?
The voting
Okay.
system.
All righty. And those items pass 5-0. All right. And now we move on to public hearings. So this is a public hearing to discuss approval of an amendment to the permanent local housing allocation 5-year plans and resolutions authorizing amendments. Presentation by Adriana Nava, Community Services Director.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and Council. So just for a little bit of context, items 8 and 13 are related. They are both related to the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Fund. So as part of this fund that we received, we have to do a 5-year plan, and that plan came before you a while back. So the purpose of this fund is, I don't know if you remember, there's recording fees that are now attached anytime we record. And so those funds are collected as a state and then appropriated to the different areas. So that's the law that passed that was SB 2. And so what this fund does, it provides a permanent ongoing source of funding for local governments such as El Centro for housing related projects. And so there's numerous projects that we can do. But overall, the goal is to assist in increasing the supply of housing and different types of housing, not just it's workforce related housing, low income housing. There's a variety of housing projects that are allowed to be done, in addition to assisting with homelessness issues. And so as I go through it, you will be able to see how we are attempting to program our funds so that we can meet numerous needs of our community. So as I mentioned, total eligible activities, there's about 9 of them, and some of these break out into even smaller subsets. But pre-development, development, acquisition, ADUs, which are now a hot topic, matching sources of funds. So it's numerous uses that can be used for this fund. And so if today you find what we're asking for as staff to the council limiting, you can come back to these 9 and use some of that funding for these 9. We're recommending activities, but you may choose otherwise. So the total that we have received, as a city, we received a portion, and then for Colonia, we received a portion as well. So it's 1.47 for the city, and then the Colonia region got 1.29 million. So total for 5 years as an estimate is 2.77 million. So that's a good amount of funding that we can use towards different activities. We have signed agreements for the first 3 years, but we haven't signed for 22, 23, and 23, 24. So as mentioned, in November 2022, council allocated 95% of both the city and the Colonia funding towards the goal of assisting persons who are experiencing homelessness or are at risk of experiencing homelessness. And this included navigation centers, case management services. So it's a whole list of activities. Reason why we wanted to do that is we wanted to reach out to our homeless population. As we've done a lot of our strategic planning we've received a lot of comments from the public, and most of the public has said, hey, we think you need to focus on this. This is a recurring issue in our community. So as we've worked on these 5-year plans, we've identified additional needs that we think these funds could assist us with. The first one is activities towards pre-development, development, acquisition, and preservation of multifamily housing. One of the projects that's currently under construction that came over due to high construction costs is Chelsea. So this type of funding could go towards a developer like Chelsea, who's already working on something, is moving forward with it, but there are still some gaps. And then activity 7, which is accessibility modifications to lower income households. There are a lot of households in our community that we've seen through our housing program where, there's somebody who is in a wheelchair now and their housing unit is no longer adequate so that they can carry on their daily activities. This includes showering, even just going up if they have stairs, then now they need a ramp. And so modifications such as this will help us assist at least one person to improve their house in order to make it adequate for them and their new needs. So what we're proposing, we have along the columns the various years and what we had previously proposed to the council, and then what we're proposing now. So we have the current and proposed. And you'll see that for the 2020 year, we have shifted the funding. We had most of the funding program towards the Working Hands program, which is our homeless assistance program that we were working with Catholic Charities on. And then we are proposing to break that up into affordable housing and also Working Hands. Reason why we're doing that is because we are expected from the state to deliver at a certain point. And early on, we didn't know we had received this funding. SCAG reached out to all of the communities. That's how we knew we had this funding. And so now we are in a time crunch to expend those funds. And so by increasing the number of activities, it allows us to expend funds in a much quicker manner. So for the Colonia, same thing. You can see that for 2020 and 2021, we're asking to break down that funding. For 2021, the difference would be that we would add accessibility improvements under that column. So as mentioned today, part of the 5-year plan is conducting a public hearing. So it's very important that we communicate to the public that we receive these funds and also what we are intending to do with them. And then moving forward with adopting the 2 plans. We have to have 2 because one is through the city and the other one is through the Colonia. So any questions so far? I know it's a lot to digest.
So going back to,
Yes.
Can you go back to the previous slide? And the 2023, I mean, the one that shows the years and how it was. So for 2023, 95% of this was allocated to the Working Hands program. Is that changing?
No.
No, okay. So we still are moving forward with this. The fiscal year 24 is going to then look a little different?
No, we would do the same thing. We're going on 5-year plans. And so this is the funding that we
okay.
have in place right now. And as we move forward, we will come back to council. Since this is a new funding source for us, we are navigating, okay, what could we use this for? How does the funding work? And so the program that we know from the very onset, once we received these funds, that we know we wanted to do was the homeless outreach program and navigation center funding. We know it's a huge need. And so the only area that we've repurposed it is for the 2020 fiscal year where we broke it out. And then 2021, same thing. So just going back for 2020, we had originally done 95% to Working Hands and then 5% to program admin. So this goes back to the city for city salaries, et cetera, whatever is needed. Proposed now, based on today's meeting, would be 55% going towards affordable housing and 40% of those funds going to Working Hands. Does that make sense?
You know, it is a little confusing because we're talking about 2020. You know,
Yes.
but this idea hadn't even existed yet, you know,
Yes,
that's why I'm a little confused as to why we're going back in time.
So the funding that we have in place goes back to 2019. So it is just the funding that came from that year. It doesn't mean that you carried out that activity in 2020. Does that make sense?
Mm,
I want to see the
On the next one,
categories.
just right there. Thank you.
This is the Colonia designation.
I mean, I could understand it if it was 5 years from now moving forward, but if we're going back in time, that's where I'm having a hard time understanding why we're changing the allocations, or why we're adjusting them.
So we are adjusting the allocations so we can expend funds in a quickly manner. Programs like the Working Hands program will take time to get off the ground.
Right.
So in order for them to invoice us and tell us, hey, we're expending these funds,
Mhm.
we need some time
I
and for the
see.
program
Okay.
to take
So
off.
we're kind of backtracking.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay,
And this
okay,
is so
now I
that we
get it.
don't
All right.
lose the funds. So that's the goal,
Mhm.
is making
Okay.
sure. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong. I mean, in my world, there is something wrong if you lose the funds, but there's really
No,
nothing
we don't wanna
wrong with
lose the
returning
funds.
funds to the state, but that's not what we intend to do.
Okay.
Our goal is to program the funds and then use them as quickly as possible for the years 2019 and 2020.
Okay.
Because
All right.
you're right, we're in 2024. And so
Uh-huh.
how we need to expend that funding very quickly.
Okay. All righty. I got it. Okay.
You want me to go back?
No, it's good.
Did you have a question?
No, I wasn't sure, Madam Mayor, if you were going to open the public comment and then
It-
ask for our comments later, or did you want our comments now?
Let me open the public
Okay,
comment and then
okay,
I'll
sounds good.
I'll come back to, okay. All righty. And does that conclude this portion
Yes,
of the presentation? Okay.
I'll go back
So-
to the.
So I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item, either present or remotely? None? Okay, okay. So seeing no comments, then this public hearing is now closed. And now we're bringing it back to council. So colleagues,
Okay.
Go ahead, Tomas.
Right.
and then
Thank
I'll
you,
go.
colleagues. So my question is Mrs. Nava, is it fair to say that this plan, having been adopted, this would be, for lack of a better, like an amendment to that plan so that we
It
can
is an
repurpose-
amendment,
Okay,
yes. It
great.
is exactly an amendment to
Perfect.
our prior plan that we adopted in November.
So being that this is amendment number one, I guess, to the plan, since the next 2 years, or in the graph that you had, the last 2 fiscal years, there could potentially be an amendment for the way those allocations are written out, depending on when the funding comes in and what we're looking at that time. Is that fair to say?
There is a potential if council desires. For now, we think that the breakdown that we are proposing is reasonable, provided that the Working Hands program continues to move forward and we go year after year and the program is excelling and we're seeing positive benefits in the community.
Sure. Okay. No, that's great. And this, I wouldn't want to say pivot, but this recalibration, so is this amendment, is because we're seeing a need now and the funding is there, and it would be best utilized in this new repurposed fashion, correct?
Yes, and I just want to explain that you cannot amend the plan whenever you find it suitable. You have to wait for the state to open a NOFA. And so we've been waiting for the state to open up their NOFA now for about 6 months. And so while this is not ideal, it eats into the time that you have to deliver and carry out the activity. And so since finally they opened up the notice of funding availability, now we can come back to the council and amend our plan and resubmit it to the state. And so we have to follow these processes in addition to submitting our plan, posting our plan that we have in place, in addition to the activities. So we would have liked to have done this sooner, but the state only allows you to do it when they have their window opening. That makes sense.
Understood. Thank you.
and so by when do we have to expend the funds?
Deadline, that's what I was gonna ask.
So for 2019, it is, I think we have to submit our documentation by March, the end of March.
This
We have
month?
to
You
submit
mean
our
next
document.
month?
Yes, this is why we're here today.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So that we can move forward.
Okay.
Said it was crunch time, and you meant that, huh?
It's a process. We have to follow a lot of processes.
Yes. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Okay. So, Councilmember Cardenas Singh,
Yeah,
did you
I
want-
just, I had just a couple of questions. Can I just take a look real quick at the 9 eligible
Yes.
criterias? And then on the accessibility, as far as modification,
Yes.
how many can we really provide? If we're looking like at 40%, are we looking at helping one citizen? Are we taking a look at helping multiple?
We also have another grant through the state.
Okay.
And so we're leveraging and combining resources so that we can assist additional
Okay, good.
individuals. We're thinking that in the next 3 years, we can do about 5 homes. That is
Mhm.
what we anticipate to do, assuming we have the staff, we have the funding in place. So that's our goal, is 5. With this one, we think we could do 1 with this funding source.
And I'm just taking a look at equity, and I fully believe in providing services to our homeless population, but I also know as
Mm.
far as accessibility for individuals who may have a physical disability, that this would be an option for them to be able to have mobility. And so that's why I wanted to make
Yes.
sure we're taking a look at some access points as well and equity. That's my only comment, Madam Mayor.
There's also a page on your staff report. I just want to point you to it. It's packet page 111. And so that table provides a breakdown also with funding that could answer for the various years programmed, how much funding is allocated. I know that the presentation provided you with percentages, but
Oh, I like it like this better. Yeah.
packet page 111 is, I think, a little bit easier to discern the 3 activities. So for activity 1, which is increasing affordable housing to conform to our RENA assessment, we have 520,000 programmed. For activity 6, which is the Working Hands program, for years 2020 to 2022, we have 138,867.
Mhm.
And then for 21, 22, we have 563,270. For activity 7, which is the accessibility improvements for the owner occupied rehab program, we have $105,000 programmed. And then overall for program admin, we have about 34,000 in for the years 2020 through 2022.
Thank you, Miss
Yeah.
Adriana. I like it with a dollar amount. It makes it easier.
I think, yes,
Thank
looking
you. I
back,
appreciate it.
when we're up here, sometimes we
Yes.
realize.
Looks good. Makes more sense.
Any other questions or comments, my colleagues?
Question has been answered
Oh.
about the deadline.
So now I am seeking a motion to adopt the resolutions. Number 24-06, resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro, California, authorizing the application and amending the permanent local housing allocation plan for the PLHA program. Madam City Clerk, are we? For both, okay, let me read, okay. An adoption of resolution number 24-07, resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro, California, authorizing the application and amending the permanent local housing allocation plan for the PLHA program, colonias as well. Okay, so that motion was moved by Councilmember Oliva, seconded by Councilmember Cardenas Singh. Please vote. And those resolutions, 2406 and 2407, pass 5-0. Alrighty. So now we move on to, okay, public hearing for item number 10 on the agenda, public hearing to discuss an amendment to the 2023-2024 annual action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program and reallocation of Measure P funding from sidewalk improvements to downtown facade improvements. A presentation by our Community Services Director, Adriana Nava.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, item 9,
9 was, did I miss it?
Block grant.
Item number 9?
It's on your script, number 9.
Yes. Alrighty. So this is a public hearing for an amendment to the City of El Centro's Community Development Block Grant Citizen Participation Plan. Presentation by Adriana Nava, Community Services Director.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
Sorry, all of these,
You know,
there's so
I
many
know this
acronyms.
is,
It's a
you know,
handful.
really, I apologize, but this was.
No, and for this one, we don't have a presentation. So typically, we have a 30-day public review period through our citizen participation plan, which we have attached it for our CAPER. So we've done 30 days in the past, and the law says that we could do 15 days. And so 15 days is compliant with the law, and it allows the public to weigh in. And so the change is to reduce it from 30 days to 15 days. And so that is the ask from the staff, is to amend the citizen participation plan to reduce the number of days from 30 to 15, which is what is required by state law. And so it's a minor change, but it's nonetheless requires a public hearing and for it to go before you.
Okay. Alrighty, so now I will open the public hearings. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? Madam City Clerk, anybody present or remotely? None? Okay, so this public hearing is now closed. And now I'm bringing it back to my colleagues on the council for any questions or comments.
I just want to say I'm all in favor of the 2 additional amendments that were listed, right? As far as the address to the library and the publication, just keeping it very general. But help me understand why it's a good idea to reduce a public comment period. And just on the off chance that somebody comes up to me with no context and says, you voted to reduce my review period, and how that's a good thing.
It's up to the council. This is why we bring the item for us. In terms of the preparation, 15 days is the standard. We had extended it to 30 days. So the council decides today to include the 30 days, it is acceptable. But 15 days is the standard. It is what is required by state law. So it for us, it's
No, I hear you. I just let's
Yes.
say we're in a public space and there's somebody just really wagging their finger in my face saying, "Why did you reduce it?" I'm looking at you like, help me explain why that was a good idea, right? So it's just kind of, you know, play
I don't
along,
think we've
if
ever
you will.
received.
Just kind of like help me understand why I would want to say that this is a good thing. Like, is there efficiency behind this? Is there cost savings behind this? Is there just, you know?
Yeah, so our typical processes involved posting on the website. We also will host numerous outreach efforts events, which is where we typically get the most feedback. I know recently we were at the adult center trying to get feedback. So the most meaningful feedback comes from us going to people and asking them about what they think about our plans. And so with that said, we don't receive comments typically during the review periods. The time that we do receive comments is when we specifically request from the public those comments. So for us, it's 30 days. Yeah, it increases our efficiency. We're able to deliver a product in a quicker manner. But if you want to continue to keep the 30 days, it's not a problem either. Like I said, we've never received in the past any feedback during those 30 days. When we do receive feedback is when we go directly to the public and they give it to us when we're speaking to them. So.
I think I'm reading your mind, but.
I don't understand the reduction.
I don't know if you know where my mind is. Would you like this? Can I ask if
Yeah, of
Stacy would
course.
like to give some input, please?
So as Adriana mentioned, the guidelines do say that the public comment period is for 15 days prior to the presentation of the CAPER to council. That's what the guidelines are. Just historically, most of the other ones are 30 days, so we've always made this one 30 days also, but we only have to have it 15. The reason we're requesting it to be reduced is because we find ourselves on a timeline crunch because that review period has to be before the meeting. And often council goes dark in August or sometimes September. And we have a hard time fitting that 30 days in and calculating that 30 days. If a meeting goes dark and we're not aware of it, it really throws off us being able to move this 30-day period. It's easier to move a 15-day period than it is a full 30-day period. And it has come up recently in the last couple of years to where it's difficult trying to fit that full 30 days in if a meeting gets changed or canceled at the last minute.
So it's for efficiency.
It's strictly efficiency. I mean, like I said, we've always done it, and there's been times where we've had to readjust and try and change. We've had to call
Yes.
special meetings. And
That's right. That's right.
Just for the efficiency of it, it's easier to schedule with a 15-day period.
Have we received any input during?
No, and in all the years I've been doing this, I've never received a public comment. And it's posted. We put it on social media. We have council presentations. I've never received a comment.
And I think also now, because we have a department dedicated, right, through our public information office, and we have the mayor's recap, we have our social media outlets and so forth, it seems as though we would make sure that those 15 days would be efficiently shared and the public would be informed of that time frame in regards to this change. Okay.
Any other questions or comments from my colleagues?
No, I wasn't going to say anything, I promise. I wasn't going to say anything.
So now I'm seeking a motion to approve the amendment to the City of El Centro's Community Development Block Grant Citizen Participation Plan. May I get a motion? Okay, so that was motioned by Councilmember Cardenas Singh, seconded by Councilmember Carter, and that motion passes 5-0. No, oh,
4-1.
oh, sorry, Mr. Oliva. Okay.
Thank you,
Alright.
and we understand.
I
We
totally
totally
understand where
understand.
you're coming from. And I think it's just more of a reflection to let people know that like without context, you could see how somebody would say, you're limiting my ability to speak my voice. And it's like, I just don't see where limiting is more like for the benefit of like staff and us. But the public is going to say, but what about the benefit of me? Right. And so that's where I just kind of hesitated and thought like, we would need to make that more known, like for people to understand that time frame was going to be limited before I felt like I was comfortable limiting it. You know, that's all. So, but I completely understand, respect, and I side with you. It's just,
By this very
Those
same.
technicalities.
it's those little technicalities,
Yes,
yeah.
and by the same token, I think most of us who've done a master's program through public administration, the first thing they talk about is efficiency and effectiveness and why is government so slow? And so this is meant to curtail some of those things and make us more efficient and effective. But then there are, the other things that kind of come along. So it's navigating those two things. So Mayor, sorry, there's another item.
Okay, yes.
Sorry.
All righty, so now we move on to item number 10. Okay, this is a public hearing to discuss an amendment to the 2023-2024 Annual Action Plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program and reallocation of Measure P funding from sidewalk improvements to downtown facade improvements. Presentation by Community Services Director Adriana Nava.
So this is a substantial amendment to our annual action plan. You may recall months back, you had allocated funding a certain way. So today we come before you to change that based on a meeting that we had at the Community Enhancement Task Force. So just to briefly recap, April 21, 22, our annual action plan was adopted by council and funding went towards a sidewalk improvement program. In January 22, that funding was subsequently reallocated towards the facade improvement program. And this was because our Public Works Director had made that recommendation because the funding wasn't substantial enough to do a large sidewalk project. So moving forward, April 23 for our 23-24 annual action plan we included sidewalk funding again. And then December 23, we did the bidding for the facade improvement program under CDBG, and we didn't receive any bids. And this is because anytime there's federal funding, the reporting requirements and everything is a lot more stringent. So many of our contractors who are simply doing, paint work along downtown do not want to go through these processes. So January 2024, we had our Community Enhancement Task Force meeting, and there was a recommendation to swap out the funding, to move the funding back from back towards sidewalks and getting the facade improvement project out of that. And so in order to make it neutral, one of the recommendations was to use Measure P for the facade improvement program. And then that would allow us to move forward quickly on getting a contractor, because those are just local dollars. And so moving forward with that, so the proposed is 23-24 annual action plan, unallocated funding. I don't even know if that's a word, but it's a word in our dictionary, 215,000. And then proposed would be allocating of funds from the facade improvement program. And this would give us a substantial amount that it would allow us to move forward with a substantial sidewalk improvement project. So again, as with all CDBG projects, this is a public hearing, so that would need to be open. And then we will have to have a comment period after that. And after concluding it, then we can move forward with the project.
So I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item, either present or remotely? None? Okay, so since we have no comments, then this public hearing is now closed. And so now I bring it back to my colleagues for any questions or comments.
I just want to highlight that this idea came from the Community Enhancement Task Force. And if my memory serves correctly, Madam Mayor, you caught this, you decided to make the change in order to alleviate some strings here and ensure that we keep and maintain the level of funding. So I just wanted to say thank you for catching that and for putting this before us.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so now I'm looking for a motion to approve an amendment to the 2023-24 annual action plan subject to the 30-day public review period, and authorize the city manager to submit a letter to HUD to request authorization for the amendments. Also, approve reallocation of Measure P funding from sidewalk improvements to the facade improvement program. All righty. And so that was, that resolution was moved by Councilmember Oliva, seconded by Councilmember Carter, and it passes 5-0.
Just for the sake of the record, I just want to make sure that we also recommended that Measure P funding be allocated for the facade improvement program in the amount of $134,955. Is that correct, Mayor?
Yes. Okay. Because we were going to just do the swap.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Okay. So now we move on to new business. Item number 11, discussion and necessary action regarding the granting of an easements to Imperial Irrigation District for the Jacaranda Apartments project. And our presentation will be by Public Works Director and our City Engineer, Abraham Campos.
Madam Mayor, we will be removing this item and it will be re-agendized as a successor agency item at your March 5th meeting,
Okay.
leaving you free to continue with the Adriana Nava portion of the agenda.
All right.
We might
So
as
we-
well just have a chair there for you.
So we'll move on then to item number 12, discussion and any necessary action regarding the award of bid and authorizing the execution of a contract for the Buena Vista project and allocating Measure P funds for the project. Presentation by our Community Services Director, Adriana Nava.
So the team's been really busy working. We
Yes,
haven't
I
had any
see.
meetings where we've presented, and so this was the meeting that we were just gonna put them all in there and get it all done. So this is a project that's been in the making now for a long time. I know it's come before you a series of times. So we're hopeful that this is the last time we come before you because it does involve asking for more money. So we received a grant for a portion of this project. And as time has gone by and as the design has been completed, there have been some features that have added to the cost. So just to give a little bit of context, the Buena Vista subdivision consists about 465 households. It's south of Interstate 8, and so they don't really have any park spaces nearby. The nearest park is Buckland Park. So it is an 8-acre retention basin, and within it, there will be 2.3 acres of park space. This is highly zoomed out, so it looks like it's a small piece of land, but if you have visited, you know it is very significant, and it's significant to that neighborhood. We had done some public outreach originally in 2020. A part of that was a playground, basketball court is what they had requested, benches, light fixtures, water fountains, and a multi-purpose trail. So as we move forward with that design, this is a retention basin. And so the retention basin component needs to continue to function as that. And we are incorporating the playground portion. So you'll see that to the west of the image that is before you, there is the basketball court, which you can see we had already committed about $150,000 for that basketball court because that was not allowed through the grant. In addition to that, we have a playground. So as we were designing this, the playground that was designed is very, very small for 465 households, especially when you look at the makeup of that community, there are a lot of small children. And so what has increased or cost a lot is the grading work. So grading work, dirt is expensive and we need to bring dirt in to elevate portions of that retention basin. And it sounds like it shouldn't be, but it is. Talk to Abraham about it. So with that said, there's other features. So green turf area, a walking path all around, or there will be 100 trees, et cetera. So December 7th, we opened bids with our city clerk. There were 2 bids that were received. One of them is Three Peaks Corporation in the amount of $1,955,000. And then another company, DLF Construction, who submitted at $2.3 million and some. So the lowest and most responsive bidder was Three Peaks Corporation, and staff is recommending the award of the bid to Three Peaks Corporation in that amount, in addition to a $200,000 construction contingency. So this is for any unforeseeable unknowns that occur during construction. So as mentioned, we did receive a grant. So the grant amount is $1.1 million. We had already allocated through that grant $150,000. So as we move forward, and if you look at your agenda item, you will see a breakdown of all the other costs that are needed. So staff is recommending reallocating some of the Measure P funds that we had allocated for Swarthout. That project came under bid. And then in addition to that, we are requesting $300,000 in order to finalize this project. We think that this is more than enough to cover the project. However, it is a substantial ask. And so we wanted to come before you so that we can move forward with constructing this park and not have to come and ask for funding again. Any questions? I know it's a large item.
Do we have any questions from or comments from our colleagues?
I think just to make it as simple as possible. So there is money that is left over through Swarthout.
Yes.
That was underbid. So we're looking at using some of that money.
Most of that.
Most of that is going to go into the Buena Vista. However, there's a shortfall of the 300,000, and that's what you're asking for us. And I just wanted to make sure, because I know that we were being very careful and mindful about how we were going to be using Measure P. And so I just wanted to go ahead and, discuss that. Maybe Carla can help us a little bit with that. And because we're looking at ensuring that we're being conservative and responsible with Measure P money, how will this impact that? That's my question, Madam Mayor.
Yes, and I too was thinking that if Mrs. Nava, you mentioned that it would be more than sufficient. Is there a possibility that we may have a surplus there after this is done, or is this just to cover whatever was being transferred from the sort out project to this, and the 300,000 would cover the full cost of this project?
Yes,
Okay.
it should fully cover it. The mic doesn't even work. I don't even.
Well, when it comes to Measure P, I know we were being very careful due to the construction of the police station but right now, as of December, we are at 4.2 million unallocated. So 300 would not, we can afford the 300, the additional 300. Bringing it down to, and that's as of December, bringing it down to 3.8.
And so just clarifying that we would be able to complete both of the projects, just for clarification, Swarth out and this,
At Buena
even
Vista.
with the ask of the 300,000, and there is money in the Measure P. So is it your recommendation that the funding is there, available, and it will not impact in any other way negatively to any other project?
Yes.
Okay. That was my question, Madam Mayor.
Any other questions or comments?
I know, I feel dumb to have to ask all these kind of questions
No.
because there's a lot of numbers going on, but
Yes.
don't get me wrong, even though I feel dumb, I'm still gonna ask it, right? And that is, so I'm assuming then that to build this park, we're looking at well over $2 million, right? So it's the 1.2 from the urban greening grant, as well as the 1.2 Swarthout Park, plus an additional 300. So in total, 1.5 for Measure P, and then 1.14 from the grant.
Yes.
Okay, so the only hurt, I guess you could say here, the only pinch is the 300,000 that would be additional fund, because everything else was essentially already dedicated and allocated,
Correct.
right? So, okay. 300,000
And
is
it mentions Gomez Park in here as well. Is that what is the status on Gomez Park as well?
We had the first meeting with the designer contractor today, actually. So we're moving forward with the design process with Three Peaks. It is the same company that is building Gomez that will be building Buena Vista if the resolution is approved by council today. So it's moving forward.
That's a good question. So just for clarification, Ms. Adriana, the 300,000, is it one item in particular? Is it just an overall cost, just to have a better idea?
No, it would go towards the entirety of the
entire
project. The additional ask for the funding, a lot of it has to do with the playground equipment and surfacing. It is a playground that is more substantial for the number of households. And then the other item was just in general construction costs going up from 2020 to where we're at in 2024.
It's just the 300,000 just seems like a whole lot of money to me, but it's my mind goes into one of two things. Either there's enough in Measure P left for fiscal year 2024 to sustain that allocation, or would it make sense to split that 300,000 to 150 of fiscal year 2024, 150 to fiscal year 2025 in order to alleviate that expenditure. And I know that it's the same amount of money, right? But splitting it into 2 different fiscal years, whether that makes sense, or just saying, yeah, we can afford it because we're almost to the end of this fiscal year and go ahead and expend it.
I think I mean, it also depends on the timeline of the construction. I don't know if it's, when is that fiscal year 2025, I'm assuming?
A portion.
So, I mean, we can split, if that's like better for you, we can split it because we can use half of it this fiscal year, then the other half next fiscal year when we're gonna finalize the project.
Yeah, I like
What
that.
do you guys think?
I actually
I-
like that. I think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it-
you know, I feel a lot more comfortable
Yeah.
because, I mean, although, you know, when we're talking in the millions, $300,000 is still a lot of money. And if we can, you know, to show our mindfulness of how we're spending Measure P funds, I too would feel a lot better if we were to split it, you know, it's just like, and take half out of this fiscal year and then half the next fiscal year.
Madam Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
are these working?
No.
Okay, speak louder. So, Madam Mayor, naturally, because of the project timelines and things like that, that's more than likely what's going to happen anyways. But most certainly, we can make it part of the record, right, to ensure that the sentiment of the body, right, is to reflect that it's divided between, you know, this fiscal year and next.
That makes sense. I mean, like, I'm not talking crazy. Am I like,
Oh.
does that sound like a good
We
idea?
do it, but we typically don't see it.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
it.
Oh, no, I
like-
pick up on it. That's why I was like, wait,
That's
that's,
how we do it.
yeah, okay, cool.
Okay,
It makes sense.
All right.
yes. I think I mean, I think I can speak for my colleagues that we're all a lot more comfortable doing it that way.
Mhm.
So, okay, alrighty. So on that note, then,
Then I'm cool with that. As long as that was your motion, Councilmember Carter, because I know you made the motion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Yes.
alrighty, so that was motioned by Councilmember Carter, seconded by Councilmember Oliva. And so that resolution passes 5-0, and it's a resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro awarding the bid and authorizing the execution of a contract for the Buena Vista Park project. Okay.
Yes, and can you also do a motion for the second portion, which is reallocating the funds?
And so then I'm seeking now a second motion to reallocate the funds, half,
1.2 million from the Swarth Outfield
Oh.
Lighting Project, and then an additional 300,000. And you can say how you want to disperse the 300,000.
So that's a motion, right? That
Yes.
needs to be
That
done?
needs to be
Okay,
yeah,
so,
and so
clear.
this is the motion, the second half of it. Okay, so, so then I'm seeking an,
We're not voting electronic because that should have been in the recommendation together, but we can do it, voice roll call. if you
Okay.
like.
sure.
Okay.
As a
Second
clarifying,
motion.
I'll,
It could be part of the same motion.
it could be part of the same motion, so then I continue on with stating that then to reallocate the surplus funds from the Swart Outfield lighting project to the Buena Vista Park project? Okay, in the amount of 1.2 million? Okay, all righty. So then we go through to a voice.
sorry.
So Councilmember Cardenas Singh,
Yes.
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Oliva,
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Marroquin.
Yes. Okay, and that passes 5-0. All right. Okay, now moving on to item number 13, approval of an agreement for reoccurring services with Catholic Charities for the Navigation Center, or in other words, the Day Center and Working Hands Workforce Development Program. Presentation by our Community Services Director, Adriana Nava.
Okay, so, oh, wrong one.
This is the Adriana show.
Very nice.
It was time for us to get all these.
So in order for us to potentially award this today, we had to go through the other processes on the PLHA plan. So I just gave you the context just minutes ago regarding the PLHA program and what that can fund. One of the activities is activity 6, which is to assist persons who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness in conformance with 24 CFR. And then so eligible uses include street outreach and other supportive case management services in conformance with our federal rules. And then operating and capital costs for navigation centers, which in our case, a navigation center would be like our day center, and emergency shelters, and the new construction, rehabilitation, and preservation of permanent and transitional housing. So,
Excuse me
ahead.
just a second. Madam City Clerk, can we see the presentation on our screens, please? Thank you.
This whole time I thought you.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, because
Okay.
it's kind of hard to read, even though I have my
So
glasses on.
this is the Working Hands program, Mayor. It's been one of the programs that has been thought about for a while now. And at the time when it was originally conceptualized, we didn't have the funding.
Right.
And so this PLHA program provided the funding so that we could carry out the program. So we did issue a request for proposal from Catholic Charities, which was the nonprofit locally that had experience doing this, or other nonprofits don't have experience operating these types of programs. They've done it in San Diego in the past, and so we knew that through that original outreach that we had done locally. And so they completed a proposal. We did do an RFP that they responded to. And so the scope of work includes establishing the Working Hands program, which includes outreach to homeless individuals to provide employment by performing cleanups of local public property in exchange for a cash minimum wage. And cohorts will include 5 participants at 20 hours per week. So one of the things that we know that we have a lot in the community is just like weeds sometimes on public right-of-ways, trash, solid waste trash in public spaces such as parks. And so we thought that, as we had discussed, that they could contribute towards the community and earn some money by working with a nonprofit. The other portion is receiving wraparound services. So Catholic Charities does have their own navigation center where they can connect people to resources, doing simple things like obtaining an identification card, their social security, helping them out with taxes and all of those things, with the goal of helping them carry out their daily life. So the startup cost. So for year one, the startup cost is quite significant, right? $524,658. A significant cost that is substantial is vehicles. So $135,000 for 2 vehicles. One is a truck and one is a van, is what is proposed. So what we are doing internally is we went through the list of vehicles. Thanks to Abraham, he has a list of vehicles that we were going to dispose of. So part of our obsolete property policy, it allows us to donate some of these vehicles. So the goal is Javier went and looked at them. There are various that are in good running condition. So we are looking at one of our older police vehicles. That's a Tahoe that's pretty large. And then a truck that we had, I think, from Public Works. It has a toolbox. It has the gate that the lever goes up. And so that allows, it's better in terms of like no injuries, so that they just can lift the trash and it goes straight into the truck. So we are looking at that. And we did speak to Catholic Charities about it. We haven't had that full acceptance yet, but we are going to work on these vehicles, make sure they're operational. And then this decreases our cost for year one. So year two, if the program is successful, it's doing well, we can buy vehicles. But for year one, since we don't know, this is our first year doing this type of program, we don't know its success, to spend almost $140,000 on 2 vehicles, it seems, quite excessive. The other costs were personnel, which, personnel costs are expensive, including fringe, transportation, operating expenses, and then indirect costs. So we thought that cost was reasonable. We also thought the new computer request is also reasonable. It's the 2 vehicles that kind of set us over.
Right.
So with that said, you do have an agreement before you. We have been working with our city attorney on the agreement. We do expect to request insurance from Catholic Charities to ensure that we're all covered. And aside from that, we are looking forward to meeting with them and really just kicking it off the ground. It's definitely an undertaking for us. We've never done a program like this, but I think it's worthwhile for the community. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that because you've been pushing and spearheading this program.
Yes, well, this program kind of spawned out of just a casual conversation that I was having with someone, and taking into consideration that I'm the chair of the homeless and homelessness task force. We've been looking at ideas to help some of these people turn their lives around. And this type of program was actually conducted in the state of New Mexico. And the only difference is that actually the mayor of the city, was the one that spearheaded it, and he partnered with a local church, to do this. And so they were successful at it. My understanding is the program disbanded and no longer exists. However, with the number of complaints, that we receive here in the city of homeless individuals, either, trespassing on their properties or they're loitering on, private property or public property. I thought, we have to try something as a municipality to try to get these people to turn their lives around, and so, that's where this idea, came from. And it would be very similar to, do many of you recall Turning Point Ministries?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and they that group did a lot of handiwork around, town. They would come in and help either other organizations or so on. And this is kind of like the basis for it. And so I thought, why couldn't we, then put some of these individuals to work and maybe, give them a sense of, being needed, wanted, and that they can help and earn a little bit of money while they're doing it. Catholic Charities would then provide the day center was an integral part of this project because that would be their meeting place to be transported out to a work site. They would be provided with the shower facilities, with the laundry facilities to be able to shower before they go out to work, fed. They would receive, they would be fed breakfast and then brought back after the shift was over, then brought back and then fed lunch, and they were done for the day. And so, thanks to Mrs. Nava's creativity in terms of the funding, that's how we're now able to launch this program. But a lot of it, when I saw the initial revised proposal, I too was like very concerned about the amount because I know that we have a limited amount of funding and I know that it won't go a long way. They too had also proposed triple the number of individuals that we were going to pilot this program with. And so that also to then increase the cost of this. But if we have success with just even one individual to turn their lives around, I mean, that's a win-win for both, not only for the city of El Centro, but also for Catholic Charities, because ultimately that is the goal, is of, helping individuals to get off the streets, turn their lives around, and become productive citizens in our community. And so, I'm happy to see this, that it's moving forward. And, I'm looking forward to our meeting tomorrow about this, so that I know that the amount of money really concerned me. And so I'm glad that you've already been very proactive in terms of, finding a vehicle or vehicles that we can use to reduce the amount of cost. And so that's where all of this, this.
And for year one,
this came
start
from.
small and start.
Yes, we've got to start, but we've
Yeah.
got to start somewhere. And, and we've got to do something, because I know that this is, the homelessness issue in our community is something that we hear about every day, from our residents, complaining. And so, it's something small, but it's a start. And so,
I just have a couple of questions. I believe in the philosophy and behind the mission.
but also working with individuals with intellectual disabilities. There's a lot of job coaching that needs to happen. So I think we just need to be very clear. It's not that we can just, run 25 people through the program. It's going to take a lot of coaching. It's going to take a lot of life skill opportunity. It's going to take work. And I think we just need to be very transparent that it is going to take some time and it's going to take a lot of
Mhm.
dedication. And so the measure of success should not be the number of individuals that go in through the program, but actually individuals that have the job skill ability and then to become self-sufficient. So I just wanted to put that on there. The other thing too is just for clarification, as a municipality, our job is not to create, right, programs that provide wraparound services. The specialty care is going to be coming from Catholic Charities that specializes in providing those services, case management and so forth. So this is the blending of the two, the funding with the specialty of Catholic Charities that would be providing that support. Am I correct to say that?
Yes,
Yes.
we could not do this with the staff that we have
Right.
because we just don't have that expertise. It also takes very committed individuals who understands the mindset as well that frankly many of us just don't have. And so we are hopeful they've already carried this out in San Diego. And so I think that also adds an element of expertise that we don't have. We are unique in terms of geographically with our summers. So there are things that we will be working on with them to ensure that we iron out details with them.
Any other questions or comments from my colleagues?
Spoke to Catholic Charities to see how they're going to choose it's 5 people that are going to pilot the program first?
Well, it's, our code enforcement officer, Ana Garcia, and our community relations officer, Carlos Bernal, have, they've identified these individuals and they will then refer them over to Catholic Charities for, they're the ones that are the boots on the ground that have the contact with these individuals on a regular basis. And so,
Yes, I
They-
hear that in the homeless meetings, but I'm just trying to see that everybody's going to have a fair shot at earning some money and trying to change their lives
and this
around.
is, in this case, it's kind of a trial and error,
That's it.
type of project where, because we don't know if these individuals will then, follow through and be dependable, and if that's not the case, if they all of a sudden abandon the job, then what we'll do is we'll then seek out another individual to take that person's place. So yes, there will be opportunities for, and we'll do it in intervals. So, all righty.
Thank you.
All righty. And so now I am looking for a motion to adopt this resolution. And that motion was moved by myself and seconded by Councilmember Oliva. And that resolution passes 5-0. It's a resolution, and number 24-09, a resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro, California, approving an agreement for reoccurring services with Catholic Charities to provide a Working Hands Workforce Development Program. Thank you, colleagues. All right. Okay, so we move on now to item number 14, to ratify a letter of support, collaboration with the Imperial County Office of Education through the Education of Homeless Children and Youth Grant Program. So we received a request from ICOE. They are looking for a grant to educate their educators on, how to encourage homeless children and their families and homeless youth, to ensure that they attend school. And so this funding would then go towards professional development for the staff that they have that are involved with this. And so, we know how, I think back to just recently, I think I saw what looked like a mother with two they were probably her children. And I'm not sure, I saw them walking along. I had never seen them here in town before. And I'm thinking that they might have been maybe displaced recently. And so I was thinking, because this little girl looked to be about 8 years old. And I was thinking, if they're new here, is the mother going to seek, enrolling her in school? And so, this too, I think could also be, beneficial, so that, some of these educators would then, maybe perform some outreach out in the community. But anyway, so this is, we're ratifying this letter for supporting, this program for Imperial County Office of Education. Okay. And so that motion was moved by Mayor Pro Tem Edgar Garcia, seconded by Councilmember Cardenas Singh. And that then ratification passes 5-0. Okay, moving on to item number 15, ratify a letter of support for, and this is, we have a request. Yes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. So the request before you is for ratification of the letter of support that was issued to the Imperial Regional Alliance for Imperial Valley Business Resource Center. Both actually, the letters that I'm going to present, as well as the previous letter, came in on a short turnaround time. Were dated for February 9th to go out. And this particular letter of support was for the request of the Imperial Valley Business Resource Center. And the request is for an application for a business opportunity project grant, which would assist the IBBRC to continue operating and continue to offer the business programs that they help develop new businesses for startups, entrepreneurs, as well as small business trainings. And they provide services such as referral services, broadband, and workforce programs, just to name a few. And they also provide technical assistance to local businesses for retention, expansion, and quick startups, such as access to capital, loan packaging, strategic plans, and business plans. Because of the short turnaround time, under the permission of the mayor, my office signed a letter and was submitted to the IVBRC on behalf of the city of El Centro. And tonight we're seeking ratification of that letter.
That Councilmember Oliva.
Yeah, I the only thing that I wanted to mention is that in this letter, it was meant specifically for the USDA Rural Development Office, right? And it's not meant for any other application. It's meant specifically for that grant application. But one of the things that I just would like to note for the general public, like the same way that you don't like to be told last minute things, right? It's requesting a letter of support from the city. This was dated February 9th. I get the ICOE one because that was just last week, right? But this could have been brought to our attention from this entity for our February 6th meeting, and we could have just as easily approved it then with timing, instead of coming to you on the Friday after saying we need it right now. And I just think that, like, the same way that I'm held to a certain level of standard of like not waiting to the last minute, I just really ask our stakeholders to be respectful to our staff and make sure that you're bringing something with time and not last minute, because then it puts them in a really tough spot, right? So yeah, just be mindful of that, please. Because they're doing their job, and we're just asking you to give them some time. So this could have been brought up last week. So I just, again, this letter is for the USDA Development Office. Got it. Okay.
So on that note then, do we have a motion that was moved by Councilmember Cardenas Singh, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia? That ratification passes 5-0. Now we move on to item number 16, ratify letter of support requested by the USDA ratify letter of support on Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program Establishment Act. And a presentation by our city manager, Cedric Cesenia.
So, good evening once again. So, this letter of support came in on request of Senator Padilla's office. This is for supporting of the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program Establishment Act. And basically, this program seeks to establish a national low-income water assistance program. As it was done through the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a program that was utilized in order to help basically families who are considered to be low income in cutting the cost of receiving water services as well as wastewater services. That particular program during the COVID pandemic expired in September. This particular new program seeks to establish, to assist that low-income households, would have the program to help them to pay for any bills that are still outstanding in arrears, as well as other rate changes into the future for household drinking water as well as wastewater services. It'll be similarly modeled behind the COVID-19 pandemic program, and this is seeking legislation to basically provide these benefits to low-income households who have this crucial need in their homes. So once again, we're seeking ratification of this particular letter that was provided, also dated February 9th, to Senator Padilla's office.
So that motion was moved by Councilmember Carter, seconded by Councilmember Oliva. And that ratification passes 5-0. All righty. So now we move on to task force reports. And we'll start with Councilmember Cardenas Singh.
Thank you. On Friday, February the 9th, had the opportunity to go to the groundbreaking ceremony for San Diego State's Imperial Valley campus on the north end in Brawley for their science and engineering laboratory groundbreaking. Maybe that's good news, Mr. Campos, that we continue to build the pipeline for STEM fields. February the 9th also was our air show gala. Had the opportunity to attend San Diego State's Imperial Valley campus, the 5K color run that was put on by their associated student body. Had the opportunity to visit and participate in the Carrot Festival. Had the opportunity to go to the ribbon cutting for the new collaborative justice court, which will provide services for individuals who have a mental health disorder or a substance abuse disorder, that instead of incarceration, that they actually would be provided with mental health services. February the 17th, had the opportunity to go to the grand reopening of the Salvation Army, the thrift store, and the church portion of the building as well. Just this evening at 5:30, attended the ECRMC Board Quality and Experience Committee, and then I had the opportunity to attend Best Step Forward, who had a 5K out at Sunbeam that provides inclusive activities for Imperial County youth and adults with unique needs. That's my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Now we move on to Councilmember.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So colleagues, we did have the Centinela Citizens Advisory Committee meeting since we last met. And one of the highlights that they mentioned was that, as many of you know, Calipatria is a level 4 inmate facility. And there was one level 4 yard at Centinela and the rest were level 2, level 3, that the system is starting to slowly reduce inmates out of level 4 and down to either level 2 or level 3. And so because of self-help programs, because of an ability for an inmate to be able to work towards alleviating their sentence, they're now being lowered to a different level. And so that's a good thing in the sense of, there's better behavior, better hope for potentially reaching parole or reducing their sentence And there was some fear of what was going to happen with the closure of Chuckawalla out in Blythe, and how that shifting or transferring of inmates to different facilities and what that was going to do to Calipatria and Centinela. So for the last year, especially during COVID, the Citizens Advisory Committee has met here locally, meaning within the city of El Centro. And so the committee is now shifting back to, on a quarterly basis, meeting on site at Centinela in order for us to be able to meet with some of the inmates. They also have their local elected folks that are deemed to speak on behalf of different yards. And so we certainly want to be able to meet with them and speak with them in terms of what comes before them. So I think our next meeting out there will be in April. And so should any of you be interested in wanting to join me to go out there, I welcome you. But, they're moving forward now. One of the activities that the inmates have is a fundraising effort where they purchase bicycles and donate them to children, right? So that is still ongoing, and they will plan for the next rollout, I believe, before the school year, and then the next one might be towards the end, towards the holidays, but it's typically around the school year. So that continues to be favorable. Any other questions related to the Sentinel Advisory, please feel free to reach out to me. The next one is, last week we hosted the Imperial Valley Healthcare District meeting here, where ECRMC CEO and CFO was able to give an overview of the current financial situation of ECRMC. They also had Pioneers give theirs as well. And so all of the members from IVHD that sat up here were able to ask questions related to that. And I was very proud of Pablo and David for presenting a very full-fledged and fleshed out financial situation of ECRMC, where we were, where we're at now, and what it looks like coming into the future. So thank you to them for that. Well, there's another IVHD board meeting coming up this Thursday, where the Kaufman Hall report is expected to be presented to IVHD. So looking forward to that. As mentioned by my colleague, Marta Cardenas Singh, the Collaborative Justice Court grand opening. And I have to say that I really appreciate it. And I just want to say congratulations to Judge Nunez, Judge Plord, DA Marquez, Sheriff Miramontes, for really pushing this idea. I remember being approached by Judge Plord years ago, asking for help from Congressman Vargas to connect him with heads of the VA, right? And, as a staffer, you just kind of do it. You just kind of figure out, like, all right, we're going to put you all together. So there was this round table, and it just felt kind of nice knowing that they actually ran with it, and they they kept in communication with the VA, and that this collaborative court is meant to approach justice with an empathetic and sympathetic mindset, that, not everyone comes at a crime or faces justice in the same way. And so you have folks that need behavioral health needs. You have veterans who suffer from PTSD, need to have a different consideration. And so with the different entities that might be able to help or provide behavioral health needs, mental health needs, there's also stakeholders related to Veterans Administration that's associated with this Collaborative Justice Court that I think is very crucial to attend to our veterans who suffer from different ailments that might lead them facing justice. And so they certainly, I certainly appreciate their efforts, Nunez, Plord, Marquez, and Miramontes, for spearheading this, and look forward to the success of that court. Madam Mayor, there were a lot of events, but I think I'll leave it that brief and yield back.
Councilmember Carter?
Thank you. I also attended the Air Show Gala, very nice event. And then I had the opportunity to go speak to the Senior Club about Black History Month. And I had the honor to share about how we are 5 generations strong right here in El Centro ourselves. So it was an honor to speak with them. And then I also attended the Imperial Valley Safety Service for the DUI and the MAT, the outreach. And they, their main focus is helping people get help that they need. And they just collaborated a room where they're going to start counseling the youth and they showed us the room. It's very nice. If you guys have the opportunity to go by there and visit, they are just opening up their doors to everybody, and they said that it's a very nice program that they're about. And Councilmember Olivia, he was there as well, and he got to see what they were offering. And then also, I attended the Board of Quality and Experience meeting tonight with Councilmember Singh, and that concludes. Thank you.
Pro Tem Garcia?
I think we had all the same events.
Yes.
pretty much. I'd like to note that it was an honor to be present with my colleagues for the SDSU STEM groundbreaking, speaking about needing engineers. Today, I think it's fitting that we have this wonderful facility coming in, not only with Lithium Valley, but also with the needs of STEM qualified professionals in our valley, and the fact that we're going to be able to essentially build them at home now. That's the best part. So I'm really excited about that. It looks like a wonderful facility that they're going to put up there, and it was just great to attend that. And what can I say about the air show gala? They really knocked it out of the park this year. It was a little chilly. The weather didn't cooperate as well, but it was very nice to see everybody out and about. They did a great job raising money the way they always do. And, it gets everybody excited when you see a fighter jet that close. Gets you ready for the air show. So that was a wonderful event, and I'll keep it at that. Thank you.
Well, and like my colleagues, I too was at the groundbreaking for the STEM building out at SDSU at the NAF Air Show Gala. And I know that was kind of impressive to see the nose of a Blue Angel jet sticking into the hangar that we were in. But and to say that it was chilly, it was cold.
It was cold.
It was really cold that evening. And let's see, we also attended the grand opening of the collaborative court, and I too was impressed by that, and I had a chance to chit chat a little bit with Judge Nunez, and I'm thinking, just based on the concept of this collaborative court, and their goal is to keep these individuals out of being incarcerated, maybe having the working hands or the program too would also help some of these individuals avoid being incarcerated, because one thing leads to another, and unfortunately they end up in a bad situation, but there's hope. I was also at the grand reopening of the Salvation Army thrift store in their church. They've I guess they modified that building. The whole building was the thrift store, but now they've divided it into, it looks like 3 sections, and so they've really reduced the size of the thrift store. But it was really nice to see they had a lot of Salvation Army dignitaries and officials come out, to help them celebrate the grand reopening. And boy, did they have a line of people waiting to shop at the thrift store. And so we that was a nice event. I know, and we were guilty of shopping a little bit in there too. So I don't know if Councilmember Cardenas Singh got in trouble, for what she brought home, but that was that was a nice event.
Well,
I
let's
do have to say.
clarify. I love to decorate my home for Christmas, so I came home with Christmas decorations.
Well, I did too. Okay, so so we're both as guilty. But anyway, so and then tomorrow, Mayor Pro Tem Garcia and I have our ECRMC Finance Committee meeting in preparation for our board meeting next Monday. And let's not forget that this coming Saturday is the Mardi Gras Parade and Street Festival. The street festival will start at 5. The parade will start at 6. And as you know, the parade route starts at about 8th and Hamilton. Then it moves north down 8th Street and then turns west down Main Street. And then the street fair will be out at the end of the parade route. So looking forward to that. I think we all have a good time throwing out all those beads and just
Beads.
waving at the crowd and just engaging with them as we go down the parade route. We're also requesting suggestions from the community to help us name the new dog park that is currently under construction. So residents can submit a name by taking our survey, which we have available on our website. The survey is available in both English and Spanish, and the deadline to submit and to complete the survey is March the 1st. Okay, so we encourage the community to participate. And we are now selling tickets for the El Centro Day at the ballpark, which is at Petco Park. Tickets are $142.50 and are being sold on a first come, first served basis. The game is the San Diego Padres versus the Los Angeles Dodgers on Saturday, May the 11th, starting at 5:40 p.m. You may contact the city manager's office for more information. And last but not least, join me for Mondays with the Mayor at the Boba Tea Shop located at 341 North 8th Street. This coming Monday, February the 26th. We actually rescheduled this. It was originally scheduled for February the 6th. However, due to the seismic activity that we had that rudely awakened all of us, we decided to reschedule because, I'm sure that the community was a little startled and they probably were not, too willing to come out of their house after that. So again, this coming Monday, we'll be there from 8 to 9 a.m. Please join us. Now, take it away, Mr. Cedric Cesena.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to take a moment to recognize public works staff, fire and police, and the rest of the department heads. So, I didn't realize that sometimes my messages actually reach somebody. And what I mean by that is after the earthquake, after the ground, woke us up and then it stopped shaking, I began receiving messages, most notably from Abraham, who was telling me that things were okay. And one of the things, having gone through the Easter earthquake, is I have firsthand actually experience with critical infrastructure being damaged through an earthquake. And let's not forget that in 1940, we also had a 6.9 earthquake here in El Centro that caused a lot of damage and actually didn't only damage, but killed some people. So we became really aware of drop, cover, and hold on right that day. It was shaking for a few hours, a few days. And I think, I wanted to thank staff for actually getting out of bed and heading out to the facilities and checking them out, for police doing their work, for fire, doing the work that they were responding to soon after the ground stopped shaking. But I do want to remind the public that it's always important to have a communications plan, something that you can actually communicate with family out of state, that they should have also a family plan for supplies and food, not only to include family members, but also their pets or any special needs that they may have for family members. And, last but not least, make sure that you stay safe during these types of events. I got some the next day when I arrived at work. I got some messages from some of the other department heads who were like we were standing by our phone waiting for you to call. We thought you were going to activate the ELC, and I was just like, it was only an earthquake. But at the same time, I could understand. But I actually feel excited, to hear that they were, thinking about what we were going to do next if something worse happened. And, I wanted to thank them. I hope I didn't take too much of their night, of their beauty sleep away that night. But most importantly, nobody was hurt in the city. We didn't have any major issues across the city, minus one small water line break. And, we did get a lot of news media attention for El Centro. So I want to thank Mario also for dealing with that piece. Outside of that, I attended all the same meetings, most of them at least, with council. And I was out of the office for a few days last week, so I kind of had not a whole lot that happened for me this past week. Anyways, thank you, Madam Mayor. That's the end of the report.
And on that note, it is now 7:42 p.m. and our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.